Hi, and today I'm going to talk about a question that I get all the time from both freelancers, but specifically my clients, and that is, why is my image blurry? That's a great question, and it really comes down to image resolution compared to how the image is being used. So let's take for an example this holiday graphic, and I've got this leaf background here. So the image quality compared to the size of this graphic, the graphic is 4.25 by 5.5 inches, so not too large. So with the image that I've placed in here, it's looking pretty good. It doesn't have, it's not blurry just on my screen. However, I definitely would inspect it as a PDF, but just here on my screen, I can tell it's working pretty good. But let's compare that to the same image, but smaller. So I'm gonna drop in this, this is what I've currently got. It's a 6.8 megabyte image versus this smaller one, which is the exact same thing, but about 6 times smaller. On this tiny screen, this can be deceiving, right? Because this looks exactly the same. You can't tell any resolution difference. So let's say we place this smaller one in there. Again, zoomed out, maybe you can't tell a whole lot, but as we get in closer, yes, we can definitely tell that this is getting pixelated because the image is small. So whenever you run into this type of situation, you just need to find most likely the original image, like what we were using a minute ago, that was larger. Or if that's the original image that you had in there and it's blurry, then you're just going to have to work something else differently. You could find a different image to use, you could make your graphic smaller, something like that, but it comes down to that image size versus the size of the graphic. And this gets really confusing because it can be that same image, and so we don't know why in one situation it's blurry and one it's clear. I'm also going to demonstrate it this way. Let's place both of these side by side just here on my artboard. So that's the small one versus this is the big one. This can also be a good illustration to show you what a difference those two images are. So it's 6 times bigger. As a general rule of thumb, you can just place your image on your artboard and kind of see how it fits into this scenario. So you can see right now, it's going to work really good at the size that I wanted. I didn't have to get any larger, stretch any bigger than what I really needed. Versus this image, now you can see why really I could only use it about this big before it starts getting blurry. So that's a good illustration if you have the same image but two different sizes. Drop them both on the artboard and see how they just appear. And there's really not a standard on here as far as you know for sure if a certain size is going to be blurry versus another. What I always just recommend is to ask for the original image and drop it on there and then see how that works, because there's a lot of other factors depending on the size of the graphic that you're making. So another example I want to give is a lot of times I'm making a whole package of marketing materials, such as maybe taking that holiday graphic and now making it into a social post. If you keep the measurements in inches, I've made this about 3 by 3 inches. And sometimes what will happen is I'll send this over to my client as a PNG or a JPEG, and then they've taken it and they decided that they want to make it bigger and make it into a flyer. So that's another situation where you're going to run into this issue of it becoming blurry. So here I have an artboard that's 8.5 by 11, so your standard piece of paper, something that someone might want to make a flyer from. And if we drop on that tiny graphic, that tiny social graphic, which is really 3 by 3, you can see it's really small, and right now it's showing at a really good resolution, only a 3 by 3. But then if you take this and you stretch it out to fit that 8.5 by 11, we'll see what's happening. So now we're getting the pixelation, and this is a question that I get from clients as to why is this becoming pixelated. That's because you've dropped on an image much lower resolution than how it's being used. So in a scenario like this, you should really just reach out to your graphic designer and see if they can make you the size that you need. Say you need it as an 8.5 by 11 flyer. Sometimes if it's really close, say you have an 8.5 by 11 graphic and you're just upping it to 11 by 17, you might not lose much resolution there and it can be okay. But as a general rule of thumb, you just want to go ahead and have your graphics made for the size that they need. All right, and as a reminder, you can always downsize your graphics to be smaller, and you're not going to lose resolution there, but upping graphics to fit a larger setting than what they were intended for is why your image is going to be blurry. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to be notified of upcoming videos.